Hello viewers, welcome once again to Home Tips with Mira. Whenever it is time for this program. Hello viewers, welcome once again to Home Tips with Mira. Whenever it is time for this program, wisdom created certain seasonal fruits that when you eat those fruits within that particular period of when we come back, I'll show you that apart from eating your alasa or your infested the fruit, and you don't want to eat this fruit in the dark. When we come back, I'll show you that apart from eating your alasa or your infested the fruit, and you don't want to eat this fruit in the dark. This fruit in the dark. And you know, if you don't want to go there, I prefer the chewing gum of the alasa. Anyway, so when we come back, I'll show you that apart from eating your alasa or your infested the fruit, and you don't want to eat this fruit in the dark. This fruit in the dark. And you know, if you don't want to go there, I prefer the chewing gum of the alasa. Anyway, so the chewing gum of the alasa. Anyway, so see that it has Thank you so much for watching this episode on Home Tips with Mira. I believe you have learned what you can do with your African star apple fruit and black velvet tamarind. Keep on exploring, keep on being creative. Please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and also like and follow my page Home Tips with Mira on Facebook. Until next time, it's a bye-bye from me and stay positive.
Fellow Ghanaians, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on UpFront on The Joy. Ordinarily, we would have had the mid-year review of the 2023 budget today. Well, maybe we would have had it on Tuesday because, on Monday we're told it was going to be on the 25th. Now listen to this.
When we come back, I'll show you that apart from eating your alasan or your infested the fruit, and you don't want to eat this fruit in the dark. This fruit in the dark. And if you don't want to go there, I prefer the chewing gum of the alasan. Anyway, so the chewing gum of the alasan. Anyway, so see that it has. Thank you so much for watching this episode on Home Tips with Mira. I believe you have learned what you can do with your African star apple, fruits, and black velvet tamarind. Keep on exploring, keep on being creative. Please don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and also like and follow my page, Home Tips with Mira, on Facebook. Until next time, it's a bye-bye from me and stay positive.
Fellow Ghanaians, good evening, and thank you very much for joining us on UpFront on The Joy. Ordinarily, we would have had the mid-year review of the 2023 budget today. Well, maybe we would have had it on Tuesday because, on Monday we're told it was going to be on the 25th. Now listen to this. Unfortunately, we did not have the review on Tuesday. finance minister has told them what he believes can be done. This evening, we're going to be having that. And then we'll begin deliberations. Stay with us. We'll be right back. University of Ghana Business School, both joining us via Zoom. Good evening.
We met with the finance minister long time on this media review, and we have also complained that and that we are not to expect new taxes. So many things, and that he said that we are going to continue. Some of these taxes, those that we will be able to prune down, we do. With this through to November, where some of our
Business is very broad. Specifically, what were your concerns?
we started with interest rate that because of inflation payment very high. The cost items at the port because of high duties, people find it difficult to clear their goods in time. Utility bills, and we have also let them know that it's also volumes that we used to bring, because if we are able to bring the imposition of new taxes and all that have all added to the cost of doing business to the extent that businesses cannot take it any longer. Okay. And that the consuming public is also challenged because they are unable to buy the goods from us. Okay. The business thrives on turnover, and because of that, we are also unable to service our loans at the banks and also pay our suppliers. So this, in all, we took our time to explain in smaller bits all these items that have enumerated interest rate.
And these items that you talk about, these items that you talk about, now, I'm going to get to Professor Lord Mensah briefly. I'll get back to you. But what did the finance minister tell you? I mean, apart from the fact that he tells you that, some of it will be looked at in the November, in the 2024 budget, did he assure you of measures on Monday that would be able to address, for instance, your interest rates and inflation? Did he say anything like that?
No, like I told you, we are not to expect any major changes. This one is a supplementary budget, and that the major discussion will be after the media, where stakeholder input will be solicited for the November budget. Okay. And so that's what we have been told. And then he also admitted that things are indeed very difficult. And so it's not that they did not even agree with what we're saying, and that everything will be looked into during the next budget, because this one is a supplementary budget and is going to discuss around the IMF loan and all that, basically. Yeah. Okay.
Let me bring Professor Lord Mensah here, because he's an economist also. Professor Lord Mensah, I mean, you've heard Dr. Joseph Obeng, you heard Joseph Obeng make the point that, I mean, they've gone there and complained about interest rates. They've talked about inflation. They've talked about COVID-19 levy. And the feedback they get from the finance minister is that, well, we may not be able to do much about these things, but of course, going into the main budget of 2024, a lot can be done. First of all, do you agree that issues such as the rate of interest, rate of inflation, nothing can be done really, and that we would have to wait till 2024 to know the major policies that will be taking to address these issues?
Right. Winston, you see, when you take the budgets that we are rolling out from 2023,
for instance, your interest rates and inflation, did he say anything like that?
No, like I told you, we are not to expect any major changes. This one is a supplementary budget, and that the major discussion will be after the media, where the stakeholder input will be solicited for the November budget. Okay. And so that's what we have been told. And then he also admitted that things are indeed very difficult. And so it's not that they did not even agree with what we're saying, and that everything will be looked into during the next budget, because this one is a supplementary budget and is going to discuss around the IMF loan and all that, basically. Yeah.
Okay. Let me bring Professor Lord Mensah here, because he's an economist also. Professor Lord Mensah, I mean, you've heard Dr. Joseph Obeng, you heard Joseph Obeng make the point that, I mean, they've gone there and complained about interest rates, they've talked about inflation, they've talked about COVID-19 levy, and the feedback they get from the finance minister is that, well, we may not be able to do much about these things, but of course, going into the main budget of 2024, a lot can be done. First of all, do you agree that issues such as the rate of interest, rate of inflation, nothing can be done really, and that we would have to wait till 2024 to know the major policies that will be taken to address these issues?
Right. Winston, you see, when you take the budgets that we are rolling out, from 2023 budget, which was that expenditure will be reduced from 19.3% of our as far as this program is concerned, from now. Areas it intends to reduce. I'll forget about the revenue side, because and until now, I've not, from where I sit, if we have something to do, and
Sword cutting for Agenda 111, we're told they're going to be completed within 18. They need to pay realistic prices. And so that in itself, some of the subsidies that we have,
side, government seems to overemphasize on the revenue generation side. And I get worried on that, because, for the revenue, you intend to generate it, but from what economy? You only intend to generate revenue when the economy is active, when the economy is well engaged to the extent that every agent within the economy is very active. In that regard, you can start introducing new services. You can start increasing, tariffs here and there. And possibly, as the economy is heated, the profits that businesses are making, they may not serve this increment in tariffs pass through, which they may want to increase prices with it. Effectively, it will end up, being absorbed by the businesses. But this is a situation where businesses have been dull over the years. So if you emphasize on revenue generation, which it turns up that you'll be increasing taxes, you end up, crashing the situation that we find ourselves in now.
But I mean, talking about revenue, Professor Lord Mensa, that's what we've agreed. That's what the board has approved for us. That's our program. We say it would be hinged on massive revenue mobilization. So that's what we're faced with. Is there anything else we can do?
Of course. I mean, you're looking at two hands. Budget deficit going up, it means that it's either revenue is going up or expenditure is, going up. Effectively, you may have to deal with one. And I want to see a situation where, expenditure is being reduced. And government, you see, look, let's take, what is happening in our market. As we speak now, government financing sources have reduced completely. Short-term, financing. The extent of, possibly financing our budget deficit, which, short-term, if you look at how Treasury bill, rate has swollen, the demand is there. That tells you that government is revolving around, Treasury bills, finance medium to long-term, project. And so if we don't take care, we'll continue hitting the short-term side to some extent, sacrificing the long-term. And we cannot continue to manage
what's the challenge? What's the challenge with using short-term notes or short-term, securities in funding long or medium to long-term projects? What's the problem?
There's a huge impact. We call something refinancing risk. See, when at the point where the short-term financiers, funds need to be paid. So let's assume that you've invested in treasury bills for 1 year, and government takes that money and then use it to finance maybe a project that is 3 years. Let's look at it this way. By the time it's 1 year, government has more money. It has to reintroduce new treasury bills. And because government will still be in demand for treasury bills, seeing an inverted yield curve where the short term is reduce expenditure.
But the other issue is, here you are. To issue new bonds. Really, who's going to put his money in the new bonds being issued by government? A lot of people.
In the program itself, we promise to look at some the revenue. But then, we should be able, as a country,
Let me get the point again. So you are saying that there are a lot of things But Dr. Joseph Obeng, so you've talked about the need to scrap the your business and by extension, me. But Dr. Joseph Obeng, so you've talked about the need to scrap the your business and by extension, me.
That's all that it means. And it means that businesses are going to
How are you being irrelevant when you talk about the continent?
of moving away from taxation to production. We have also reminded him of the fact that there were nuisance taxes that were impeding the growth of businesses in 2017 when they came to power, and that they have sought to remove all the nuisance taxes, and that we have reminded him that these nuisance taxes are creeping back in force and in other forms. And so we've done our bit and reminded them what they need is. Because Professor Lodmensa said that if you want to enhance on your revenue, it means that it's a cycle. When your economy is booming, then you can also tax it and get even more. But if the economy is stagnant, how do you overtax? And that's why we are saying that even we have told the finance minister that they have always been referring the neighboring countries that the tax to GDP is far higher than that of Ghana. And we have told them that theirs is affordable and their taxes are not many as ours. We have used the VAT as a example. We have used the cost of doing business at the port, where we have about 20 cost items at the port, where our neighboring country is having about 10 cost items at the port. and that compliance is the key, and that they are achieving those targets because of the affordability of their taxes. That is ensuring compliance. That is making them achieve those high tax to GDP. So we've done what we have to do as trade leaders, and the assurance given to us is also refreshing, because it did not also say that we are not going to talk to you. That the fact that we are going to talk, and that our input will be factored in the main budget in November is also assuring. And so we say that we were able to take at least something in the form of the stakeholder engagement, because we have reminded the finance minister that for the last couple of about 3 years, we are not having this stakeholder engagement. And it's not also helping even government to have solutions to the state. Because when we do stakeholder engagement, we give a solid input, very good inputs that will enhance on the collective input the government wants to put for any budget and all that. And so we've made all these points, and
Tell me.
the interest rate that we pay, there are certain things that I don't. Talk and sit down with the central bank, even though so that we can get good results in the coming budget. Yeah.
Let me get to Professor Lord Mensah, because you've talked about, the Bank of Ghana not helping with the policy rate. But Professor Lord Mensah, we know that our policy rate is inflation targeted. We also do know that today the rate of inflation is going up. At a point in time, it reduced from 54% to some 41%. Today we're doing 42.5%. Really, can you fault the Bank of Ghana if it increases policy rate, or there are other avenues available to the Bank of Ghana?
Yeah, so the policy rate has been increased by 50 basis points from 29.5 to 30.
Yeah.
And the same policy rate has a way of building up into interest rate structures. While the policy rate tends to fight inflation, up excess liquidity, same way it has a way of building up into interest rate structures. The question we ask is, the 0.5 that was pegged, was it 0.05, 50, basis point? Is it an optimum, right, basis point, to the extent that it will not be increasing too much on interest rate, and at the same time, it will serve the purpose of catching up, inflation. So those are the things we may
What's your view? What's your view on it? That 0.05.
From where I sit, that is not optimal. I was expecting more weight to be placed on, interest rate structures. But at the end of the day, we should be able to have an increment, which, will have a tendency of bringing inflation down. We're not saying that inflation will be down within the next, 6 months.
So you were expecting an increase of more than 50 basis points?
I was looking forward to something like that. The reason why I'm saying this is that, see, we have an IMF program going on aggressive, drive to increase domestic revenue. And like I indicated in my submission earlier, whichever approach that you adapt in increasing domestic revenue, it will build up into prices. Whether you increase taxes or you increase tariffs directly, it will build up into prices, which, in a way has inflation, coming in there. Same way you are catching it with, what we call it, monetary policy increase. So what I'm saying is that if you look at it hand in hand, we need that kind of blend of the fiscal policy where government will say that, okay, fine, fine, I need revenue, all right. I'm not going to go so much being aggressive on revenue. I would rather, cut down my expenditure. It's the same fiscal discipline. In the end, I'm going to, help the monetary policy be effective. As we speak now, it looks like the monetary policy trying to solve a problem by catching up inflation, whilst government is spending its way into the system, which is, increased inflation here and there. So it's more zero sum. We're not doing anything as far as economic decisions are concerned.
But there's a school of... yes, Dr. Abin, come in. Yes, come in.
Yeah, I don't agree with Prof on this point because they want to mop up the excess liquidity, so-called, and that's what they are using. And this inflation does not go on that trend, because if the technocrats are saying this, then I'm very surprised, because since the inflation started going up, we started somewhere at 13.5, and they've gone up with this monetary policy rate up to 29.5, about 9 times, just to halt inflation. And it's not able to halt. That is going to compound. That is going to compound. That has gone almost to 40%. So if you keep on...
So competing with private sector build up into cost of, both. They will end up reducing inflation on the market. So we are speaking the same language here.
That's the surest way to fight this inflation, and not to... do that. Then the economy will have a clean footing. inflation, and that of that domestic or food, the one that they put in the basket, that's the food item. Because now everything that we use for farming is not the hose, the hose that we used in the past. Now the weedicides, the pesticides, and all the sprays that they use to bring this produce are imported. And then the farmer is also going for a loan for about over 35%. And they are all going to be added up to the farmer's cost of the produce that comes out. And so if you do not prune down these factors and you say you are fighting inflation, you are joking. And that's why we have done it consistently, that the technocrats will suggest that let's mop up excess liquidity, and we've increased the monetary policy rate for about 9 times, and we are not getting any solution. I mean, we have to be pragmatic in these things and have a paradigm shift of doing things so that we can bring this economy back on right footing.
Yes, Professor Lord Mensah, you can make your points now.
Yeah, so I think my earlier submission, I made a statement that a blend of the policy, monetary policy, and then the fiscal policy, which has to do with expenditure cut, not emphasizing on revenue enhancement, should be able to go a long way to solve our problem. Then I never said, okay, fine, continue to increase monetary policy. I said a blend of it, because earlier on I made a statement that if you want to go by aggressive, revenue enhancement, which economy are you going to, get those revenue? Economy is already down. Agents are not that active as expected. Businesses are not selling as expected. Obviously, will affect your revenue. The best approach for you is to look at, the fiscal side, which is cutting down expenditure, for which, in a way, will also, build up into the cost of borrowing. Because as we speak now, it's only government that has access to funds that are flowing through the system. Because, people are investing in treasury bills and all those, without necessarily looking at, and not people alone. We are talking about banks who have funds to invest. They invest in government instrument, which is treasury bills. So they're not going on bonds. Effectively, these are the things we are talking about, saying that you need to blend the monetary policy with fiscal policy. And if you listen to the Bank of Ghana governor, this time round, they've admitted that even though they are throwing out the numbers by increasing the inflation by 50 basis points, they still need the support of the fiscal side, which has to do with possibly expenditure cut and revenue enhancement. But I want to emphasize that government shouldn't look at, the revenue side.
That's something that is not likely to happen. So
Strategies to mobilize resources are using the people to buy into our economy. And let me tell you, it's not every economy and their businesses are down, like Dr. external influence. Other than that, we may be forced to sell some, you know,
If you were an investor, would you be willing to put your money in Ghana, Professor Lord Mensah?
Yeah. There's hope.
So we shouldn't be of inflation reduced.
Well, I can only be sure of this economy after 2024 election because of what our policymakers are capable of doing. You know the reason why I'm saying it?
Tell me.
There's a gap in the IMF program that we may have to be critically careful of, because if you look at the program seems to have some soft spot for the vulnerable. And that is where normally the politician hides the overspending. So we're talking about programs like the LEAP, programs like the National Health Insurance program, all those soft programs, all those social programs are the programs that we may have to look at and calibrate what government is spending on going into the 2024 election. Because if you look at the physical spending, which has to do with the capex and all those, clearly, I mean, people will wonder, economy that is broke, how can you be spending on maybe roads, Agenda 111 and all those? Oh, I mean, try to look at it and say, this is quite a deceit, more or less. They can't sustain it. And then with the social programs, which has been open in the IMF, program that we have, we may have to look at it carefully and then make sure that government doesn't overspend. But for now, I can only predict, how this economy will look like, after the 2024 election.
Which means for you, things are not going to improve this year and next year, but could only get better in 2025.
That is, we should look at it that way, from 2025 upward. And it all depends on how they spend getting into the election, the 2024 elections.
Stay with us. I mean, we'll be right back after these messages. This morning we're having a conversation about the media review of the 2023 budget and what to expect on Monday. When we return after these messages, we'll conclude our conversation with Professor Lord Mensah and Dr. Joseph Obeng. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Salary account, bro. See, with the EcoBank salary account, you will enjoy free life insurance, free debit card, save while you spend, and an amazing chance to double your salary. And even more consolation rewards in the EcoBank double salary promo reloaded.
Guy, this EcoBank salary account sounds interesting. What do you think?
Yara, but maybe next time, Charlie. You know what? I'll go shine my shoe.
Hey. Yo, myself, I'll go check my BP.
We going up, never go down, and we stay fly.
Chairman, you see the white sign it here.
Open an EcoBank salary account today for a lifetime of benefits.
Let's add some filters.
Filters? No!
Well, young Collins our how?
Let's keep it natural. Natural it is.
Natural is definitely better.
Frutally, the all-natural fruit juice. This advert is FDA approved.
The second clinic of the 2023 edition of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair promises to excite patrons in many ways. The West Hills Mall will host all relevant players in the housing and construction industry in Ghana from Friday 4th to Sunday 6th August 2023 from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. This year's exhibition is under the theme Home Ownership, Affordability, Comfort or Luxury. Visit the clinic and engage the providers in the housing value chain on all your housing needs, be it financing, land acquisition, rent to own, outright purchase, roofing, lighting, electronic appliances, home security, or home furnishing. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is your one-stop shop for everything housing. To register as an exhibitor, please call 0244-260-653. There will be daily giveaways by the sponsors to visitors at the fair. The EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair is in partnership with EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and powered by the Planned City Extension Project from Cities and Habitats. Rent to own and sponsored by Elegant Homes and General Construction Limited, where quality meets value. Syntex tanks, a strong, a tough. EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair. Affordability, comfort, or luxury.
Right, so welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us here on Upfront on the Joy News channel with me, Winston Amoy. And this evening we're having a conversation about the 2023 budget review, the mid-year review of the 2023 budget. We're joined by Professor Lord Mensah, who's an economist at the University of Ghana Business School, and Dr. Joseph Obeng, who is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations. So let me just get this point. Now that, let me start off with you this time around, Dr. Joseph Obeng. You've heard Professor Lord Mensah. He says, well, if you're expecting anything different, the truth is, for him, he expects the economy to improve maybe after 2024 election because of how politicians behave. How does that make you feel?
To tell the truth, I think Ghana's economy depends on how we've managed it. But if you look necessary enabling environment for Ghanaians to enhance on our productivity. Bring growth, or it can bring productivity. Direct investments should come in to kind of help rescue the economy. It's not that we are not able or capable. And then he come in. He's not any special than the Ghanaian here. This unnecessary depreciation and all that. We are only able to receive about 50% of our export. Local investment to foreign investment.
Okay.
As a too much. We import too much. And one thing that we have forgotten. So that you can get
land in 30 seconds because our time is up.
So
thank you.
So if you look at all these things, then we have to know that over dominance of
I think there's a loophole or a gap in the policies, which would create the entire IMF program. If we
Ghana Business School, and also to you, Dr. Joseph Obing, who is president of
Hello, good morning. Welcome to
over time. The people have invested the fruits of their
is going to come on board.
Survey on reasons why the fans are not filling the spectator stands for Ghana Premier League. Footballers.